You won't believe what happened when the kid caught an elf on the shelf moving in real life. Today we present 100 of the craziest elf sightings ever recorded. Like this video and subscribe right now. Let's dive in. Now we have a short clip of an elf sitting on a mantelpiece. The elf suddenly starts moving and hides behind a sign. Let's take a look at this marvelous clip once more, and this time in slow motion so we can better see the elf moving. In this clip, we can see two elves that were caught sharing a pumpkin. We all know that elves love sweets, but who knew that they also indulge in pumpkins? Now that's news for us. The home security camera managed to capture something incredible for the elf on the shelf owners. In this clip, the elf on the shelf is captured flying all over the place, so let's check it out. An elf on the shelf was caught on camera, actually teasing the viewers. The elf in this clip is seen playing hide and seek with the camera. How cute. Elf on the shelf really loves standing and clinging onto the Christmas trees, and it's not a surprise that this elf on the shelf decided to go for the family's Christmas tree even if he gets caught by the family's surveillance cameras. Let's see this amazing elf find his way up the Christmas tree. Who knew that elves like to dance? Not just dance, but at such a pace as these elves. If you can try moving your legs as quickly as these cute little elves, and you will see how difficult it is. Up next is this little naughty elf caught moving and tumbling down this little platform he was standing on, next to the little royal guard. It's just a short video, but it's worth watching. Since it's an elf on the shelf getting caught moving, let's check it out. A kid and her mom caught their elf on the shelf moving on camera by a lucky accident. But in this clip, the elf was seen climbing down from the top of the wall to first rest under the pillows and then suddenly reappear to start moving towards the camera. The elf even seems to be smiling at the end, so let's check it out. This clip shows 3 to 4 elves in a Spider-Man toy sitting on an empty strawberry carton, while a super rare black elf is pushing them from behind until the carton starts sliding down the stairs as if it were a sled. It looks super fun, but they end up crashing terribly at the bottom of the staircase. These elves are super naughty because they're supposed to be investigating the children and they see if they're acting good enough to get the gifts from Santa, but who's looking over the elves? If someone would send this clip to Santa, these elves would definitely get fired, so let's check it out. This guy is aware that something is going on late at night and that their elf was up to something, so he installed a concealed camera to catch this mischievous elf. Let's take a look at what he's got. Alright, so it enters the room, disappears behind the table, and starts flying across the room. This elf is definitely using elf magic, but following this performance, he goes to the bedroom where the man is sleeping, and well, let's just take a look at what the elf ends up doing. This clip shows another example of elves that like to use flying technology instead of magic. These kids were on a mission to catch their elf on the shelf as a part of their Christmas celebration. They were hoping to meet the elf on the Christmas tree and see it with their own eyes, but it had other plans. Stay around as 2 hours later, the elf made a grand descent flying a candy-filled toy airplane, which is nothing surprising considering elves love sweets. It's important to understand that there's a difference between an elf on the shelf flying and an elf on the shelf floating. Flying requires much stronger magic compared to floating, and in this clip you'll see an elf who's floating. It might be a young elf who still doesn't know how to use more powerful magic. If you thought your cookies were safe in a cookie jar, then you might want to rethink your belief after watching this clip. So basically, a kid woke up to see their elf on the shelf sitting next to several cookies that has to be taken out of the cookie jar in the kitchen. The elf had even eaten some, as the crumbs indicate. Luckily, the elf left some for the kids to share. Now we have a clip of this elf on the shelf caught moving around during the daytime. It starts its journey from Santa's lap and slowly makes its way towards the camera, where it peeks its head right in the middle of the frame before turning off the recording. This clip shows an elf who used his powerful abilities to sneak into the kitchen to get his favorite treat. If you don't know, every elf on the shelf has a huge sweet tooth, so their diet is just cinnamon, rock sweets, and obviously Skittles. As you'll see, this elf had the power to lift this massive box to the top shelf and grab some candy, so keep on watching. Up next, we have a classical clip of an elf on the shelf moving on camera, but this elf is really playful and it keeps walking out of frame just to walk back in it. It seems like the elf knows that it's on camera and being recorded, so the elf decides to do a little show and have some fun. The elf keeps playing around before disappearing for the final time. What a marvelous clip. In this clip, we can see a chase between a cat and an elf on the shelf, and it gets really close until the elf decides to use his magic and fly upward to avoid the curious cat. Not all cats are friendly to elves, so it was probably a good decision to make. If you didn't know, you aren't supposed to touch your elves on the shelf, because if touched, they can lose their magic powers, and that's exactly what happened to this elf, and you can see because their eyes are blank. Fortunately, the owner's an elf on the shelf expert, and she made a magic potion out of cinnamon and foam to help her elf regain its magic powers, so let's check it out.
Magical lock. Okay. Oh, whoa, that was quick. Did you see that? It opened up immediately. Whoa! She just moved. I just saw her move. Okay, let's see. Have my magic gloves on so they will not lose their magical powers. Ah! She is! She's still smiling.
Now we have a clip of this roaming elf who starts its journey on the bed before making its way on the Christmas tree. The owner of the elf is recording it without being noticed with its special binoculars, which allow him to see the elf from afar. This is why the elf moves freely and roams all around the house. What an incredible clip. In this clip, we have an elf on the shelf who was caught moving by a hidden camera. The elf noticed the camera and approached it before seeing that it was on and that it was currently recording and moving. After noticing that, the elf left the frame and gave a thumbs up to the camera. This clip captured a pregnant elf on the shelf moving and giving birth right in front of the camera. This is probably the first time such an event has been captured on camera, and it's truly magical. You can see that the baby elf looks slightly different than its mother because it's still just a newborn, and it will grow up to be a magical elf just like its mother, so let's check it out.
Oh, I just can't believe all of her cuteness. Go ahead, we'll put you right inside there. Oh, such a little tiny cute little baby elfkin. Woo! Woo! Memes! Is that you? It is!
This clip was recorded by a girl who was playing with her elf on the shelf in the pantry when she noticed that another elf, this one wearing black clothes, is trying to squeeze under the doors. As she picks up the elf, she notices that he doesn't have any legs, and then the other two elves can be seen waving to the girl from the other side of the doors. According to the girl, the two elves actually locked her inside the pantry, and she had to wait for hours until her mother came back from work to unlock the doors. Who knew that elves could pull such evil pranks off on their owners?
Okay, you don't look as derpy. You look a little wonky. Your hat's coming off, Evel. But look at, there's this perfectly derpy little guy. He looks happy. And then here's this little sad squished guy who lost his legs in surgery. Oh, hello! Welcome! Yes, we have a derpy. We have your members. But guess what? They got a new makeover.
Now watch the following clip to see the most badass elf you've ever seen. He went to get some Fruit Loops in the morning when the rest of the family was still sleeping, and the boy who caught him just got so annoyed by what the elf did. The elf even grabbed the marshmallows on the table, so he must be really missing the sweets from the North Pole.
This is mine. Why is he using mine?
Now we have a clip of an evil elf on the shelf. A woman asked these two YouTubers for help because she swore that her elf on the shelf had turned evil, so they set up multiple security cameras around her house and waited until the elf started moving. And when it did, it started causing absolute mayhem. It shoves things off the counter, plays with the light switch, and even uses dark magic to teleport into the woman's bedroom, where then it peeks its head out of the wardrobe.
Sure. Yeah, guys, this elf on the shelf is corrupt.
This guy wanted to cut his elf on the shelf open to see what was inside of it, and you should never hurt your elves on a shelf like that because they're live creatures, and as you will see, the elf just disappeared from the table and just reappeared on the ceiling, meanwhile shutting off the lights. This is one of the creepiest elf on the shelf sightings ever.
What the heck? Yo, I don't know how he's able to do this, and I don't know why his eyes are glowing red, but I don't like this. Yo, what the? Cause he just disappeared. What the heck? His eyes are there now. Where did he go? Elf, where are you?
A mysterious elf chose midnight to fly around the dining room and got caught on camera in the process. While at first, it seemed the elf didn't notice the camera, the way it flew into hiding all of a sudden made us suspicious. So let's check it out. Have you ever seen spooky elves on the shelf? This one will undoubtedly frighten you because this clip was recorded right after Halloween. And I guess one of the elves decided to visit his family very early before Christmas and have some fun with Halloween props. This little girl was soundly asleep, probably dreaming of Santa's gifts. The surveillance camera catches a glimpse of an elf peeking at her multiple times. It had multiple attempts to come near her, bouncing all over. The father caught the elf sleeping beside the little kid and thought that he saw the elf smile. What a wholesome clip. According to the rule of elves on the shelf, kids are not allowed to touch them. This rule must have been implemented for the safety of these living elves. Maybe these elves actually go extinct, so it's never a good idea to touch them. This clip was filmed with someone actively present, so we can see the person recording his playing with elf's hat. This is a really bad idea, but in the end, the person got what he wanted because the elf eventually reacted and blinked. This girl discovered that one of her elves on the shelf was pregnant, and eventually the elf gave birth to baby twins. One of the babies is even wearing green clothes, and the other wears traditional red elves. We can only wonder why this is the case, and no one even knows how or why these elves got pregnant, but it's an amazing clip, so let's check it out.
Are you allowed to touch elf babies?
I think so.
Oh, so we have a boy and a girl.
But they both have eyelashes.
Everyone has eyelashes.
Is that true?
Even boys have eyelashes.
They do?
Yes. Go look at Dad.
On Christmas Eve of 2013, this elf was caught riding around the house in a tiny car with his Barbie friends. You might not notice anything weird at first, but then it moves a little and walks past the camera only to look at it directly. It jumped down from the counter, opened the door to the pantry, and threw away everything it could reach. There were also a few moments in the video where Barbie drives on her own. And you'll see the elf continuing to drive around his car, causing a mess in the kitchen and having a good time playing with the toys in the house. After the elf had its fun, it returns to the same spot in the kitchen and freezes in the same way with hopes that nothing will suspect it. This clip shows an elf on the shelf that's taken its owner's PlayStation 4 and wanted to return it to GameStop. Now, you might think this elf is a thief, but in reality, the kids were misbehaving and the elf wanted to protect them from ending up on the naughty list this year, so he took away their PlayStation to discipline them.
Spider-Man, Leland! And your controllers!
Come on, we gotta take
What? He was almost there, too. He was just right outside the GameStop.
How was he sneaking around?
What was he trying to do? So I think he was trying to return your PS4.
This guy was flying his drone around the neighborhood when he came upon an elf on the shelf at the playground. Who knew that elves also like spending their time there? But that's not all, because the elf starts moving and using magic tricks to vanish into thin air before reappearing soon after and testing out one of the slides, so keep on watching.
The right way, bro! You're supposed to go down the slide! Guys, I don't think there's slides at the North Pole. Like, I don't know, he doesn't know how it works. Do something off of the shelf, please! Go, oh, yo! What? Where'd he go? Bro, he literally just disappeared. Yo! Hello? Off the shelf, what are you doing? He just went down the slide! Yay! Good!
This clip shows elves that got sick and because of that have turned into candy canes. Luckily, their owners knew exactly what to do and prepared a special potion that cured the elves and brought them back into their usual elf form. This is just amazing to see that a few drops of magic potion can treat the elves, so let's check it out.
Don't worry, Elvis. We are going to turn you back to normal. 1, 2. 1 little drop. Elvis is back to normal. Yay!
If you think elves are not intelligent, then this video will make you reconsider your stance on that, because this particular elf on the shelf displayed elf intelligence by using a grappling hook to climb the table and open the sweet jar from Santa. In this clip, an elf on the shelf was caught on camera moving, but where the other elves on the shelf clips usually have elves moving around with no destination in mind, this elf on the shelf has a purpose, and that's to find its fluffy friend. So let's check it out. In this clip, an elf on the shelf was caught moving by the chimney. What happened was the dad was trying to bring back the magic into the elf. You see, his kid accidentally touched the elf, resulting in it losing its magic. It was a really sad moment, but then the dad knew exactly what to do. A little bit of cinnamon powder will do the elf some good. Cinnamon is a great thing to put on your elf to bring their magic back, and after some time, the elf really did move. Make sure to remember this because it's a great trick to have active elves during Christmas. In this short clip, you can see the elf on the shelf spinning on the ceiling. The family who captured this clip swears that the elf got up there all by himself. If that's the case... Now we have a clip of this cheerful and adorable elf that was discovering playing in the house and being watched by the cat. After climbing the stairs, the elf balances itself high up on the stair railing before sliding down. The landing probably hurt, so he's gonna try it again with a pillow. Fortunately, the cat was super patient with his little elf friend and no harm was done to it. For this short clip, we have an elf that started moving at night. It peeks its head from behind the couch, but soon after, the family dog notices the elf moving and starts chasing after it. The elf even hides behind the couch, so let's just hope that the dog wants to play with the elf instead of tearing it apart. The security camera of a home captured something bizarre when the owners were not at home. In this clip, the elf on the shelf was caught on camera moving directly in front of the security camera and then started staring at it. What a sight to see. Now we have a clip of an elf who started moving at midnight, and at first, the elf climbed up the Christmas tree, and that's when it probably noticed the camera recording it, but instead of running away, the elf slowly made its way down the Christmas tree and approached the camera, giving it a long examination. This elf was really curious about the camera and wasn't afraid of it at all. Prepare yourself because this elf on the shelf is about to, well, poop. I'm not kidding, and that's not even the craziest part, because this guy decided to prank their elf on the shelf by leaving some chocolate-covered raisins in a jar to kind of trick the elf into eating it, but the most insane thing ends up happening, so make sure to stick around to see for yourself. One of the famous Christmas songs was playing in the background when this little elf was seen dancing. It sure looks fun. The elf on the shelf is raising its small arms in the air, dancing about the home. But first it checks to see if anyone's watching. As soon as the song ends, the elf returns to its cozy corner under the warm Christmas tree. After all, that's the favorite resting spot of all elves. As this guy records an introduction for his YouTube video, you can see his elf sitting behind him on a closet start to move its arm and wave at the camera. What a spectacular sighting. Now they introduce to their son, the elf, and they make great friends.
Touch him. I'm not supposed to touch him.
In this short clip, we can see an elf named Abe being caught on camera while driving a toy car. Who knew that some elves could actually drive? Abe isn't even using its hands to steer the wheel, so we guessed that it's using magic to move around with the car. When this girl was sleeping one night, she woke up to strange noises coming from the living room, so she rushed downstairs to see what was going on, only to find herself in the middle of hundreds of elves. It's literally insane, and her elf on the shelf was also present in the middle of the gathering, so maybe it invited its friends over for a party or something like that. I'm really curious about what they were really talking about. Maybe they were just having fun, or there's some chance that they were planning something bad. Well, it's up to you guys to decide, so make sure to keep on watching until the end.
Oh my gosh. It is lots of elf on the shelf, and I mean lots of them.
In this clip, YouTube Meeble Spirella managed to catch their elves on the shelf sneaking various candies and sweets. An elf on the shelf played hide and seek with the camera as it moved around what seemed to be like a kitchen. After playing hide and seek with the camera for a while, it had to be forced into permanent hiding when the dog came into the kitchen. We think this elf was afraid of the dog snitching on it. So basically, this mom was having some suspicions about her elf because it would be placed at one spot and the next morning it would be found at another place around the home. If you want to catch your own elf, make sure to listen closely on what I'm about to say because this mom shows the best tricks and tips for catching an elf. At first, she shows us that the elf is sitting silently on the Christmas tree and then proceeds to show us what seems to be the elf's door at the North Pole, which teleports it back to Santa Claus. That's the spot where you have to put your camera at because the elf will probably be trying to go back to Santa. So the next morning, she sets up 2 cameras in the living room and the kitchen, and as expected, the elf goes down the tree, and you guessed it, to the little door. We have this elf on the shelf sitting beside his little friend, and in this video, both of them can be seen smiling in front of the camera. Not only that, guys, but they also move their eyes. Alright, it's a little creepy, but that's okay since they meant no harm. You probably know that elves are great beings that are meant to protect little kids. Now we have a clip where this teenager was reading a book while his elf was sitting on a coffee table next to him. Unexpectedly, the elf starts moving, and when its owner notices, he jumps off the chair and runs away. Elves rarely intend to scare their owners, but seeing your elf move on its own can sometimes be scary. Now we have a clip that shows an elf who has become pregnant. I don't know about you guys, but I've never seen anything like this before. This very well might be the first pregnant elf on the shelf recorded on camera, and luckily the elf starts talking and explaining herself, so let's hear her out. We don't know for sure what the elf on the shelf here is doing in this clip, but its movement caught on camera suggests that perhaps there's another elf on the shelf nearby who's about to join his buddy in front of the camera, so let's check it out. After watching this clip, we've concluded that there couldn't be any other stranger elf on the shelf caught on camera clips on the internet. In this clip, an elf on the shelf was caught redecorating the kitchen of its owners, and it's not the kind of decoration you would ever expect to see anywhere. We think we just found the greatest elf prankster ever. In this clip, we have a curious elf on the shelf who noticed the hidden security camera and decided to pick it up and record a short vlog. The elf carries the camera to another spot before placing it down and dancing right in front of it. The elf was probably interested in human technology and decided to experiment and record its own vlog. If you're interested in learning how to catch your elf pulling pranks on you outside your door, you should watch this clip. So here's what happened. An elf was captured on camera ringing the doorbell of one of the family's homes, which was lucky because they had a security camera in place at the front door. As a result, his little naughty act was exposed and he got captured on camera doing the usual mischievous behavior that elves like to do. We think we're beginning to notice a pattern with some of these elves on the shelf. Some of them might enjoy getting caught in the living room, bedroom, and any other room, but they seem to hate getting caught in the kitchen. Is it because Santa makes them do all the cooking at the North Pole? It seems that way as we watch this clip of an elf jumping down the kitchen countertop and making a run for it. This clip features these elves on the shelf sitting harmlessly on the floor, but it's probably one of the creepiest clips of elves on the shelf we've ever seen. It just looked like two elves rocking back and forth, which is already creepy enough, ended on a surprising note, so let's check it out. Up next, we have an elf on the shelf who appears in front of the camera and then quickly turns its back and walks away from it. A second later, the elf approaches the camera again, but this time the elf is rubbing its hands. The little fellow was likely planning something mischievous because it left its side again, only to reappear with its friend. These two elves keep showing up in front of the camera until their owner enters the room, and then one of the elves just barely stops moving in time to avoid getting caught. This elf on the shelf was sitting still, but as soon as its owner walked past it, the elf started moving. The elf moved a bit and laid down on the side because its owner walked past the shelf again. But as soon as the owner wasn't present, the elf started moving again. This little elf wanted to move so much, but unfortunately for him, his owner was right next to him, so he couldn't risk being seen. In this clip, we have a rare type of elf on the shelf, and at very first it was laying dormant until suddenly it started moving, leaving the frame before returning and making its way towards the camera. The elf gives it a good look before noticing that it's recording, and because the elves are super instructed by Santa not to get caught moving, the elf quickly disappears from sight. This clip shows an elf on the shelf jumping up and down the bedroom and getting caught on the camera while doing so, but when it discovers it's being filmed, the elf could only think of a place to hide, and its choice will surprise you, so keep watching. Elves on the shelf usually wear red clothes, but there are actually clothes that have other colors like green or even black, which is the rarest. Apparently, they have the strongest magical powers, and in this clip, the black elf was caught trying to steal Skittles from the kitchen counter. The family put a bag of Skittles right in front of the camera, hoping the elf would fall for the bait. The elf had problems opening the door, but eventually reached the Skittles and got caught by the person behind the camera. However, the elf just teleported out of his hand and escaped the dangerous situation. Now we have a clip of an elf just strolling around the living room. This girl captured this incredible footage last year on Christmas Eve, and it's a truly magical moment of an elf on the shelf coming to life and walking around the living room. this short clip, the hidden security camera captured the elf on the shelf slowly moving its eyes. The elf perhaps noticed the camera and knew that it was trying to record it moving, and that's why it only moved its eyes. Elf on the Shelf really loves standing and clinging onto Christmas trees, so it's not a surprise that this elf on the shelf decided to go for the family's Christmas tree even if he gets caught by the family's surveillance cameras. Let's see how this amazing elf gets his way to the top of the Christmas tree. Trust me, it's truly amazing. It's time for some vitamins, and this elf on the shelf knows the right vitamin to pick from. In this clip, the elf on the shelf is trying its best to move the oranges on the table, and after much struggle, it gave up and decided to nap by resting on one of the oranges instead. A makeshift pillow out of an orange is something we never thought was possible, but this elf proved us wrong. Up next, we have a clip of an elf on the shelf getting baited by a $100 bill. So the elf's owner placed a $100 bill on the ground right in front of the elf, and the little fellow literally jumped off the Christmas tree to claim it.
You see that? You got to be kidding. As soon as I look.
This is probably one of the most confusing elf on the shelf caught on camera videos we've seen. While we're still trying to adjust elves on the shelf moving, now we have to see them create extra legs from sneakers to walk and run around the house. Confused? Check out the confusing clip for yourself. Maybe you'll figure it out. In this next clip, an elf on the shelf was caught on tape moving and rolling its eyes. The clip shows the elf sitting on what seemed to be the top of the stairs before it started moving to face another house. Then it fell at the same time. How strange is that? A YouTuber named Nicholas Bradley uploaded a clip of his elf on the shelf doing what most elves do, avoiding the camera at all costs. Unfortunately for the elf, the camera captured most of his movements, well, until it spotted the camera itself. In a twisted turn of events, an elf on the shelf decided to reveal itself and got caught on camera moving, but only on its own terms, moving enough for the camera to capture its movement, but also hiding from the camera too. These two guys purchased some cursed Elf on the Shelf cereal, which made their Elf on the Shelf move at 3 a.m. You can see it appears briefly in the background, which made the guys go downstairs and investigate. The elf is continuously peeking around the corner as if baiting the guys to come closer. The elf ends up going to the restroom, and who knows why the elf acted in the way he did, but it's surely a great Elf on the Shelf caught moving on camera clip.
Go, go, catch it, catch it. Wait, where is it? Whoa, whoa. What are you?
Guys, you're too slow. Come on.
Is it taunting us? Dude, it wants us to follow. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Hurry, hurry. Wait, hello? Where'd it go? Elf? It could have went anywhere. In here, maybe? Hello? Where'd you go? there he is.
Now we have a clip of a group of elves sitting in darkness, and we can see the usual red elf, but next to it sits a more rare blue elf and green elves. However, the moving elf is the pink one, who comes from behind the camera and shoves the blue elf before showing its own face to the camera. While all the elves are not moving, the pink one seems to be having tons of fun alone. We must admit, this is one of the most confusing elves on the shelf caught on camera clips that we've ever seen, because we still don't know if the elf in this clip was trying to have what seemed to be a salt bath or if they were trying to hide in it. Enjoy the clip and tell us your opinions in the comments. In this brief clip, we can see an elf on the shelf sitting on the Christmas tree before the elf falls down. Perhaps it wanted to move, but it noticed the secret camera recording it, so the elf made sure to quickly get out of frame so he could move without being recorded. These hungry elves are going straight to the kitchen cupboard to get some snacks. Honestly, you'll have to give them credit just for finding where all the good stuff is stored, so you can't even blame them for stealing the food. In this clip, the elves are caught by security cameras taking some sweets, so let's check it out. Now we have a really rare clip of a red-headed elf on a shelf moving. It's rare to see red-headed elves, let alone them moving. In this clip, the elf appears on camera and it looks like it's carrying something in its tiny hands, but then the elf disappears from sight and returns empty-handed. The elf slowly becomes more comfortable being on camera and inspects it closely before starting to use its magic to float around. These two mischievous elves were spotted having some fun with the camera. They were undoubtedly drawn to the shining item that seemed to be staring right at them. The second elf was initially camera shy, and the other occasionally strikes a pose. Elves are really something else. The other elf is in the back beginning to move as well. It's just unbelievable. You can't just tell me that these aren't real. This clip isn't anything new, but a moving elf is still fascinating to watch. Did you notice the elf's movement near the door? According to the video's owner, he was astonished when he saw the clip recorded on a surveillance camera, and then he was super happy about his decision to place it there. Peeking right at the camera, the elves even start headbutting the camera, and then they heard someone coming to open the doors and made their escape. What some elves on the shelf get into in the middle of the night remains unclear. While we agree that it's sometimes about flying, cooking, and moving around for some elves, there's some elves on the shelf that just come alive in the middle of the night to do whatever. The elf on the shelf in this clip is a perfect example of that, and we are completely puzzled by its behavior. In this next clip, the elf on the shelf can be seen trying to quietly move out of the house before getting caught on camera, and it must have been super shocked because what it did next will surprise you, so keep on watching. This clip shows an elf on the shelf who got inside of a toy BMW i8 coupe and started driving around the patio. The elf is not alone, as there's also a little dog sitting in the passenger seat. Now this is one of the most incredible elf on the shelf clips ever because the elf must know that he's being recorded, but still chooses to continue driving around and having fun with his new furry friend.
You guys seen this? Buddy and Needles are driving Lily around in the car? This is totally crazy! I've never seen this. I can't believe I'm seeing this with my own eyeballs. Whoa. Uh-oh. It looks like he got stuck. Are you gonna back it up, buddy? There you, oh, whoa. Look at you driving. I cannot believe this. This is crazy. Looks like Lily's having a fun time too.
For this clip, we have a sighting of an elf on the shelf who was spotted all by himself at a haunted park. This elf escaped its owners and went hiding there so no one would find it because it didn't want to get brought back to its owners. But this YouTuber tracked it down and captured it on camera.
Over there. Oh my god, guys. I'm literally just gonna...
For this short elf on the shelf caught moving clip, we have an elf who saw a camera rolling and decided to look straight into its lens. The elf shoves its face into the camera and quickly makes its exit. What a wonderful sight. Now, this clip captures elves doing something I didn't think was possible. These elves crafted a makeshift hot air balloon and started flying across the room with two of their babies in the basket. Maybe these elves got tired of working for Santa and wanted to go on a short vacation, or maybe they just got bored with sitting at their owner's house and wanted to have some fun with their babies, or maybe the elves just wanted to impress their owners. We will probably never know, but this clip is a great example of the ingenuity that some of these elves have.
What are you doing on top of their hot air balloon? Whoa, it's so pretty with all the snowflakes. Are you two having a fun time? Boy, what were you two thinking? I cannot believe they're flying on top. Well, if you guys like this video, don't forget to like it down below. And if you'd like to see more crazy things that my elves do, you're welcome to subscribe to my channel. Check out things that they do now, things that they do in the future, and things that they used to do.
Now we have a funny clip of this energetic elf dancing in the living room. After showing off his best stats move, the elf gets on the dog and starts to take a ride to the TV, where the elf gets on the mantelpiece, joins his elf friends on the TV, and starts dancing again. This elf keeps dancing until the TV turns off. What a crazy clip. In this clip, a secret security camera captured an elf sitting on the Christmas tree, but the little friend unexpectedly started moving, making its way down the Christmas tree. When it lands on the ground, the elf starts dancing and hopping around the presents and perhaps evaluating how well the gifts were wrapped. Anyhow, after inspecting the presents, the elf approaches the camera, which is a special camera that can record with night vision. Otherwise, all we could see would just be pitch black. The elf turns his back to the camera, and this wonderful clip comes to an end. If you believe you've seen it all, this clip might convince you that you haven't seen anything when it comes to elves on the shelf caught on camera. This clip shows an elf on the shelf wearing a piece of clothing you'll never believe is possible for an elf to wear, so watch carefully. In this clip, we see an elf literally teleport into the kitchen, which is an interesting choice for elves to make. The elf then begins to do what elves do best, move around and float around while pretending no one was watching. However, when it realized that someone might be watching, it floated directly up into the camera's lens and proceeded to destroy it because elves hate being captured moving on camera. Now we have a rare instance of an angry elf on the shelf who saw the hidden camera and attacked it. The elf punches and even headbutts the camera. The elf probably got angry at its owner for trying to catch it moving because the elves can't allow themselves to be recorded in motion. The elf keeps punching and hitting the camera before flipping it over at the very end of the clip. What a rare sighting of an elf on the shelf moving. In this clip, the elf on the shelf was caught moving towards the sleeping dog, and at first it seems like the elf was just having fun and dancing around the dog, but then the elf turns to its furry friend with a treat. This clip is a short segment from a TV news report that shows one elf on the shelf doing all sorts of crazy stuff on camera. So you're not supposed to see an elf on the shelf with your own two eyes because apparently the elves can lose their magical powers if that happens, but if you record them on camera, nothing bad ends up happening to them, so keep on watching. This clip shows an elf who wanted Kellogg's cereal so bad that it literally dived right inside the box where it enjoyed eating cereal. These two guys failed to catch their elf moving, so they had a genius idea of watching the elf moving next to their elf while recording it with a secret camera. Their plan worked out because their elf started moving and its eyes even changed color at the end of the clip. It's one of the most fascinating elf on the shelf caught moving clips ever, so let's enjoy it together.
We thought at the beginning the elves were like regular humans, but really, it really shows when an actual human's beside them, right?
Will Ferrell's tall. He's like 6'5".
Yeah, but I mean, nah, but compared to these guys, look at them. They look like little shrimps. It's like me versus like you or something. Massive kid.
It looks awesome. Look at the it has like a
dude.
In this clip, we have a joyful elf on the shelf who, upon moving, climbed down the Christmas tree and walked up to the cat. The elf looked like it wanted to pet its furry friend, but the cat got super scared of the elf and walked away. It's likely that it's the first moving elf the cat has seen, so that's why it's scared of it. The elf tries walking up to the cat a few more times, but he never succeeds in petting it. This clip starts off with an elf on the shelf sitting on what seems to be a bed, but soon enough it starts moving and hopping around. But at the end of the clip, the elf falls down lifeless. As you might know, elves don't like being seen moving, and perhaps at that moment the owner of this elf entered the room, and that's why the elf just suddenly stopped moving. Now we have a clip from Spirella, who is one of the most well-known elf on the shelf catchers in the world. She has caught many elves moving around her home and causing problems like stealing cookies at night and even messing with her cat. In this clip, she's caught an elf on the shelf trying to break into a bird cage, and it just is insane, so keep on watching to see how it ends.
Stairs and I looked everywhere for my elf, and I could not believe what I found. Yep.
For this clip, we have footage from a hidden security camera in the kitchen, and one night the camera captured this wonderful moment of an elf on the shelf moving its face right into the lens before starting to dance and hop around on the kitchen counter. The elf had some midnight fun and finally takes off the counter. Here we have another clip showcasing elves eating their Thanksgiving dinner. The elves can be seen with evidence of the food they stole right in their mouth. We can't blame them because they might have known that they might not be invited to Thanksgiving, so they decided to take food for themselves.
Well, look at the mashed potatoes. Mabel started mashing them. She's so
In this clip, we can see an elf on the shelf moving right in front of a hidden camera, but not long after, the elves notice the camera and takes a closer look at it. Perhaps you can't find many cameras in the North Pole, and that's why this elf is super curious about such a device. Maybe it doesn't even know that it's being recorded, and that's why the elf doesn't hurry to escape being recorded. Now we have an elf who got caught moving across the room, but the elf wasn't moving with a purpose, because later its owner discovered that the elf left them a surprise. The elf made a shoe train and left a note. This elf is pretty creative, but we can imagine such surprises getting tiring after a while. We think one of the things elves don't account for is getting caught on camera while moving, even though they're supposed to not have the ability to move at all. However, as soon as this particular elf noticed the camera, it went into its hiding mode immediately, just to avoid getting captured. This elf played so many pranks on this family, and you're about to be in for an adventure. In the first few seconds of the video, the elf starts things off by sliding down the stairs and onto the fire truck toy. Then it drives to the family's room, and then the lights begin to rapidly turn off and on. But that's not the craziest part. The elf goes on to climb up the tree in the fireplace and, well, unhooks the family socks. This elf is just so mischievous, but because of that, we have this great clip to show you, so make sure to stick around to the end. For this short clip, we have an elf who was caught walking on the sleeping dog. This elf likely wanted to play with its furry friend, and in turn, it got caught moving. What a marvelous sighting. It appears that the family's suspicions about the elf on the shelf have increased, and they believe he's likely roaming around the house. And in order to provide him with a little light, they propped him up in front of the laptop because, you know, they had to turn all the lights down in order for the elf to believe that they're sleeping. And scary enough, it moved its head in a strange way, which is going to impress a lot of you, so let's check it out. Now we have a clip showing a baby elf riding around a tiny toy car when the elf discovers one of her fellow elves locked inside a vault cage. The owner is shocked to see one of her cutest elves being locked and starts looking for the culprit, but none of the elves confess, so maybe it was an evil elf on the shelf locked up in the elf cage. Let's check it out.
How'd she get in and how did she get out? Yeah, she's looking out, but hey, you know what? She's still smiling.
From hiding behind the wall to coming out to play around the house to finally choosing the right spot to hide to avoid cameras, this elf has got a lot of decisions to make. This elf noticed that his owners were trying to capture him moving on camera, but instead of sitting still and not moving at all, he decided to wave at the camera, gifting us this wonderful clip. It's said that mysterious things happen in the dark, and this clip shows such examples because a mom who recorded it captured this fascinating moment of her elf on the shelf using magic to fly and teleport all over the place. This is truly amazing. This clip captured a day in the lives of 3 elves on the shelf, from working around the house to giving a haircut to their friend Barbie. This is an insane clip that shows a lot of details on how the elves spend their free time, so let's take a look. This guy captured a strange clip of his elf on the shelf teleporting around his house. You can see the elf flying through the air into the frame before landing on the ground, but when its owner points its camera at it, the elf disappears and no one knows where it went next. It's one of the spookiest elf on the shelf clips moving so far, so let's check it out.
Yo, where did it go? It was right here, Mr. Elf.
We know that an elf on the shelf can be crazy at times, but in this clip we have 2 elves playing with jelly as they pour it into a bowl. While one stirs the bowl, the other one continues to add water inside the bowl full of red jellies. These elves on the shelf seem to be pretty playful as they embark on their unhealthy cooking agenda. As one elf places an empty packet on the other elf's head, they seem to be having the time of their life in this kitchen. We can also see how one elf dips the other elf into the red jelly bowl like a French fry being dipped into ketchup. This is just super amazing to see. This elf was captured taking care of a sweet tooth with his fellow elves and making them cookies. This is a very nice gesture and it shows how caring and considerate these magical beings are. Would you like to taste a cookie made by an elf? Up next, we have a clip of this girl setting up a camera right in front of an elf who's sitting right under the Christmas tree. As soon as the girl leaves the room, the elf uses magic to teleport out of sight only to reappear right in front of the camera. The elf starts moving and leaves the frame before returning right in front of it shortly after. What a wonderful clip of an elf on the shelf moving. Now we have a clip that captured the spontaneous moment when this dad got their elf on the shelf moving in the middle of the night. Right before this footage, he was told by kids that they should put on a CCTV camera to catch the elf. And so here we are. It turns out you should listen to your kids, especially when it comes to magical stuff like you're witnessing in this clip. This clip shows an entire elf family stuck inside a lantern. You can see a grown-up elf with several of its babies, which are wearing many different colors. We don't know how all of them ended up being stuck there, but luckily one of the elves started talking and tells us an entire story, so let's keep watching until the end.
It's kind of hard to explain, but Dark saw this glowing magical light, and he thought we would like to hang out inside of it, but then he put us all inside, and then he closed it and locked it with a big lock, and now we're all trapped inside here. And I was hoping maybe, just maybe, you could use your magic gloves and help save us.
In this clip, we have 2 elves that were caught walking right across the living room. At the beginning, the first elf makes its trip across the room, and later we can see the second elf following suit. What an incredible clip. So 2 weeks before Christmas, this dad caught their elf on the shelf just flying in the middle of the video, and he was recording. Actually, this dad and his family have a verified Elf on the Shelf YouTube channel that they captured their elf moving a few times, so it must be a real video, and what you're seeing has happened for real. It's about to get even crazier, so make sure to keep on watching until the end. In this clip, we can see the elf on the shelf being recorded by a hidden camera, which captures him starting to move. The elf slowly moves its arms and legs before using its magical powers to briefly stop the camera from recording. Now we can see the elf looking straight at it, and the elf winks and smiles before using its magic once again, this time to disappear. So this YouTuber was flying his drone around the playground near his house looking to capture some beautiful winter footage, but he got shocked by an elf on the shelf that appeared in frame. Apparently, the elf jumped to the ground and latched onto the drone. You can see his little elf legs wiggling around, but eventually we can see the entire face of this elf. This is an amazing clip showing that elves on the shelf can be captured moving not just inside the house, but also outside, so let's check it out.
Can ever say they saw this, that's for sure. This is crazy. Oh my, okay, that's it. You know what? If he doesn't want to get off the drone, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna fly it so fast, he'll have no choice but to fall off. Come on, keep going, keep going. Look, he's shaking. He's shaking off. This might be working, actually.
A mom caught two elves on the shelf playing with each other in her wardrobe. The elves were seen facing each other as they kept playing and didn't seem bothered by the mom recording them. In this brief clip, we can see an elf looking straight into the camera before headbutting it. Perhaps the elf didn't like being secretly recorded, and that's why it tried to shut the camera off. After 2 headbutts, the elf understands that it doesn't know how to turn the camera off and it leaves the scene. Okay, you won't be able to convince me any longer that these elves didn't develop a taste for cereal at this point, due to the fact that this family has heard noises coming from cereal boxes the night before. The family was determined to find out what the elf was up to and trapped him before it could get away, so the next day they decided to set up a camera in order to catch their elf in the act. The hunch was correct, and he was actually hanging around and snacking on some sugar cookie cereal. But more than that, he appears to be in a state of limbo, and that's just what you get for being a glutton. Anyways, let's have a look at this clip and see what happens at the end. This girl woke up in the morning to find a note left by her elf, saying that they were going out to hide in the nearby forest, and luckily the note included the GPS coordinates for the owner to find her elves. She started walking to the coordinates and ended up finding not just her elves, but also a plethora of other dolls and toys. Her elves have probably hosted some sort of forest party for all the toys in her closet, and it's just amazing.
Let me get you down from there. Oh no, sorry.
You.
I'm sorry, baby.
He probably has a concussion from that.
We'll take him to the doctor.
Mom, we can't take him.
But how are you gonna touch? You can't touch the elf. How are you gonna get him down? Or take the branch.
We have a clip from a YouTuber who captured this elf on the shelf swinging on the hammock. We guess that Santa doesn't have hammocks at the North Pole, and that's why this elf decided to try its owner's hammock instead. But that's not even the most fascinating part of the clip, because at the very end, the elf just vanishes out of thin air on the hammock.
Thingy-majig, I don't even know what that's called, guys. Wait, where'd he go? Dude, he's not in there anymore. Dude! All right,
Elf on the Shelf was caught on camera moving from one place to another. The elf was caught riding a tiny toy horse and being accompanied by another doll, but it left the other two to climb up the chair, but then jump on the table to find itself a hiding spot. So let's check it out. It doesn't matter how long it takes when an elf on the shelf decides to do something, because they do it eventually. In this clip, a kid sets up a hidden camera to catch his elf on the shelf moving on camera, and what this camera managed to capture will scare you and will make you question everything you know about elves on the shelf. So let's check it out. For this clip, we have an elf who decided to surprise its sleeping owner by descending from the ceiling and hopping onto her head, which was enough to wake up the girl. Surprisingly, she gets scared and starts shouting. Perhaps she didn't see that it was an elf, and that's why she got so scared.
Somebody, please!
Nighttime is fun for elves on the shelf because they always think that they're alone and won't be caught, and the elf on the shelf in this clip knows how to make use of that time. Unfortunately, there's a hidden camera set up to capture its fun time, so we can say that the elf had failed in some sense, but it also succeeded making the day. This shows elves on the shelf caught red-handed at the scene of their crime. It's the second day of Thanksgiving, and these elves must have been angry about not getting an invite to eat because they ended up breaking into the family fridge and having a feast. We can learn from this clip that it's better to just invite your elves to Thanksgiving because they might get their piece of dinner one way or another. For this clip, we have a shy elf on the shelf who clearly wants to start moving, but it knows that it's sitting right in front of the camera, so it doesn't move much but slowly wiggles around in its place before it falls down on its side. As you might know, elves on the shelf move around only during the night so they can't be seen by humans, but this clip shows something different because it proves that some elves also move during the day and even scare children in broad daylight. Just look at this elf simply chilling at the fireplace. It's one of the stranger clips because it's super weird to see an elf moving in bright daylight, and it even seems to be aware of the fact that he's being recorded, but it doesn't stop him from moving. So let's check it out. It's very difficult to catch elves moving, but it's even more difficult to capture them talking. But don't worry, for this clip we have an incredible recording of the 3 elves talking together. They discuss very important matters, so listen carefully.
Don't listen to Charlie and Buddy anymore.
Okay.
2 elves on the shelf displayed impressive magic when they both decided to use magic to create a Christmas tree in their owner's house, and then the elves joined hands together like lovers facing the Christmas tree. That's probably the most romantic elf on the shelf clip ever, so enjoy it to the fullest. For this clip, we have an elf sitting between some toys and it slowly starts moving before getting up and leaving the frame. Seconds later, the elf shoves its head right into the camera from above and finally flips it over. This elf probably wasn't happy about its owner trying to record it moving.